We've got a Kirk Cousins update to get to on today's episode, and I know at this stage we're kind of growing a little tired of it all, but when we do get news, you know we're going to get a video out to you about it, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you stay in the know on everything related to 18. Let's talk about the topic that we just can't seem to avoid, and that is Kirk Cousins. As long as he is still on this roster and there is no end in sight for what is next, we're going to break down every single nugget, every single crumb we get, because the Atlanta Journal-Constitution's D. Orlando Ledbetter joined a radio show in Cleveland, Ohio, and talked about Kirk Cousins, as the Browns radio show was curious what's going on from your end of things regarding Cousins. Because we all remember last week, Kirk popped up at a Chipotle in a western suburb of Cleveland. And then a few hours later, he was at a barbecue spot not far away from that. And at the time, I ran with this story and people laughed at me. And then we got some blue check marks coming out saying Kirk Cousins' visit to Cleveland has nothing to do with the Browns. And then no one really gave a real explanation as to why Kirk Cousins, who has no family ties to Cleveland, his wife is from Georgia, that was a big reason why they went to the Falcons, I think, went to Cleveland in cold, rainy, late March. And if you look at where these two locations are, Chipotle, the Westlake location he visited, and City Barbecue, you'll notice it's not very far from a certain doctor's office, Dr. James Voos, who means probably nothing to you, but that is the Browns orthopedic doctor. And I think the Browns might have gotten word to Kirk Cousins' agent to maybe go visit this doctor, right? That wouldn't be tampering. You're just going to see a doctor. And then that doctor maybe tells the Browns a little update on the shoulder and elbow injury Cousins claimed he suffered against the Saints last year, 2/3 of the way through the season. Now, Orlando Ledbetter was talking about Cousins in general on this Cleveland radio show, 92.3, and one part of it jumped out to me, and I want to share this part with you guys. He said, if the Falcons cut him loose, which is what he is asking for, then you could sign him for the minimum. Now, outside of that, Orlando Ledbetter didn't really give us a ton of, I'd say, new information, his perspective on things, but he didn't come out with, I got a scoop for you guys, just got off the phone with Kirk's agent, and he told me X, Y, and Z. But I did kind of gravitate towards the he wants to be cut loose part. Not because that is a different perspective, but we really haven't had that spit out yet. We had Kirk Cousins meet with Arthur Blank, who had 5 pages of notes from a 1-hour meeting. I don't think in my entire life I've ever taken 5 pages of notes in a single high school, definitely not high school, or college class. So Cousins looking for a way out, I think is a reflection of Cousins knowing a trade is not very likely unless there is some type of contract change, which leads me to this overarching point. The Falcons want to get something in return for Kirk Cousins. And they are in a game of poker right now, and they are saying we are comfortable with keeping him on our roster. Other people may not believe that, because a very similar situation happened last year with Russell Wilson and the Broncos, where they decided to cut bait altogether and take on an $85 million dead cap hit, and also pay Russell Wilson $34 million to play on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So all the other teams are thinking, you're bluffing. We know you're not going to keep Kirk Cousins. That is such a toxic and uncomfortable and awkward situation between Cousins and Penix. You're going to release him. And Atlanta wants everyone to know, we're not going to release him. If you want him, you got to trade for him. Because I think the Falcons are trying to salvage something from this huge contract they gave him, which ends up being $90 million, $100 million for less than 17 games of work. So if they can salvage some type of financial relief, which we're going to look at the money side in just a moment, or a draft pick out of it, they are dug in and they are betting on someone else to blink first. So before we look at the money side, because that appears to be obviously a major hurdle for teams trading for Cousins, but I also think it's a little bit confusing for people on what it all really means. Do you believe Kirk is going to be a Falcon week 1? I look at it this way. Week 1 gets here. Falcons on the road in Carolina. I'll predict that right now. Just going to shoot my shot. And I can't picture Cousins on the sideline. I just don't think that's going to happen. Now, getting back to our good friend D. Orlando Ledbetter, Bowtie, Mr. Ledbetter, Bowtie Chronicles, I think. He said there's no way to trade Kirk Cousins. And this all stems from Kirk Cousins' contract and how impossible it would be for another team to take on his contract. I believe there are some misconceptions about the money side of things. Let's talk about it from Atlanta's perspective first, and then we'll talk about it from, say, the Browns side or any team trading for Kirk. If Atlanta trades Kirk, I think it'll be after the NFL draft. And at that point, you might as well wait till post-June 1 because there is a major difference in the dead money if you wait till after June 1st. If they do a post-June 1 trade, the dead money for 2025 is $12.5 million, and there are $27.5 million in cap savings. If you do it before June 1st, that 27.5 goes all the way down to 2.5. So you can see a lot of incentive for Atlanta to wait till after June 1st. Now, let's talk about what another team is trading for. Kirk Cousins has a $40 million cap hit for Atlanta this year. A team trading for Kirk Cousins does not acquire a $40 million cap hit. They are acquiring any unpaid cash that is guaranteed to Kirk Cousins. This year, Kirk Cousins is owed in cash $27.5 million. He is getting that money from someone, whether he's on his couch or on the Browns roster or on the Falcons roster. Now, after that, you have now run through the guaranteed money, and he's not owed or guaranteed this, right? But if he's on the roster, that's what the current contract calls for. So, I'm going to make this point as crystal and abundantly clear as I can. Kirk Cousins is not playing on this deal. There is no way any team trades for Kirk Cousins and accepts the remaining balance on this contract. Kirk Cousins knows this, the Falcons know this, and his agent knows this. This is not a hot take. This is standard practice. When the Commanders traded for Deebo Samuel, they did not pay out the remaining money on his contract or keep it as is. No, they reworked it into a 1-year contract. When the Texans traded for Stephon Diggs, he had 3 years left on his deal. They consolidated it into 1 year. When Allen Robinson was traded from the Rams to the Steelers, 1 year after signing a pretty nice big contract in free agency, it was consolidated. By consolidated, I mean they took a pay cut. Why? Because they know if they want to get traded, they have to budge on their contract. That is why players always want a lot of guaranteed money. Because even though it might say $100 million, if the answer is only $60 million guaranteed, there's a chance they never see 40% of that money. So, if you leave this video with learning one thing, it is, and if your friends say otherwise, slap them. Tell them I sent you. Like, big time. Kirk Cousins is not going to go to the Browns and stick with his remaining contract. He knows if he wants to play anywhere else in the NFL, he has to agree to a new reworked deal. In other words, a pay cut. His two options are stay on the Falcons, take a paycheck here and there, and be a backup. Or pick up his no-trade clause if an offer comes in and go to a new team and agree to a new contract with that team in order to keep playing. That's it. Sorry. Before we get on to the rest of this, quick shout out to our friends over at Fanatics for having the Falcons draft hat. Personally, I feel like this draft hat with the peach logo, the peach emblem, is something that looks a lot cooler in person than it does in a picture. Up close, it looks pretty sick. So if you want to get one, go to chatsports.com/ATL draft. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. All right. I think that pretty much sums up everything I wanted to say. Yeah. So I don't want anyone for the rest of the offseason feeling like they can't trade Kirk. No one's going to take on his contract. You're right. No one is going to take on his contract. And Cousins knows that. So if he really wants to go play somewhere else, which I think he does because he had an hour-long meeting with the owner about it, he's going to have to make a new deal. And for the guy that's made over a third of $1 billion in his NFL career, I think he'd be receptive to a new contract because no team is going to trade for him on that deal. And the Falcons are looking for either draft compensation to get something, salvage something out of this, or to split the remaining $27.5 million he is getting this year. Because even on a new deal, he still gets that $27.5 million from someone. So the Falcons might go, listen, if you take on Kirk Cousins in the rest of his contract and pay half of this $27.5 million, we'll give you him for a 7th rounder. And then the Browns go, okay, let us talk to his agent. And they talk to his agent and go, hey, so us in Atlanta are in agreement on a 50-50 split for the $27.5 million. However, we do not want the remaining years on that contract. So he has to agree to a new 1-year contract. Okay, let me go talk to Kirk. Hey, Kirk, here's the deal. If you want to play in the NFL this year, you got to go to the Browns. However, they don't want to pay the remaining years on that contract. No, of course they're not going to pay the remaining years on the contract. That was awful last year. Okay, great, we're in agreement. So do you agree with the Browns on a new 1-year contract? Okay, but I still get my $27.5 million? Yeah, of course, that's guaranteed to you. Okay, sweet. Who's going to pay it? Well, the Falcons and the Browns are going to split it 50-50. Ooh, I kind of wonder, with that being said, what draft pick are the Falcons going to get for me? Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. Well, because the Browns are going to pay so much of this $27.5 million, they're only going to give us 6th rounder. Bad deal for Atlanta. But I don't give a shit about them because they drafted Michael Penix 6 weeks after I signed with them and told them I want to finish my career here. So that is what the rest of the offseason is going to look like. Subscribe, and I'll see you all later.